We want to catch up with Sam Perkins and find out what you've been up to. Let's start off with that. You're in Dallas now, right?
Yes, so I've been in Dallas for a minute, and I'm still doing basketball-related things with the NBA as a consultant, and then for player development, and then also the board of the on the board of the RPA, Retired Players Association. So acting treasurer, I guess they trust me with their money. So
That's a
I'm
good
doing,
thing.
yeah, we didn't lose any, and we didn't spend too much,
What
but
do
at the
you
same go
go
ahead.
ahead, I'm sorry.
But at the same time, I'm still involved with the NBA. And even though COVID is around, I used to travel a great deal, but because of the pandemic, it's been slow to go places.
Did you enjoy that? There's a lot of like international and travel involved when you're like an ambassador with the NBA.
Yeah, so we were, during the NBA games, during the preseason, kind of like went over to China, and that took place there, but also places that they have a fond following in different countries, Argentina, Spain, and all that. So all that was all great, and it wasn't just me. It was a couple of retired players and current players on trips doing basketball without borders, and also trying to establish a relationship in some of these countries and cities that we went to.
What do you think is the biggest challenge that players face when they retire?
Probably not doing anything. The been on the road so much and so active, all of a sudden now it slows down, and um, then you have to make time for family, which is not hard, but at the same time they have a schedule, you had a schedule, and you have to condense those two entities into one. And that was probably when I first finished, it was similar to that. But you know that you knew what the schedule was doing, the team was doing, their schedule. But it also, you felt like my feet were moving, but I wasn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? So that's probably the hardest thing, and adjusting to kind of like everyday living now, because you're so active. You still work out, you still do all those things, but not because of that, for that cause. I mean, not for the team, you do it for yourself. So I think that's the hardest adjustment. Is the scheduling.
I wonder if
Uh,
the guys currently playing are feeling some of that because of the restrictions and the protocols with COVID, and they're not supposed to leave the rooms and have visitors on the road. I wonder if they feel a little bit like their feet are moving and they're not going anywhere. I feel like
yeah,
that sometimes.
well, I can't. I really don't know, but I think because of the pandemic and COVID, I think maybe that is a possibility, because you're stuck in a room and you're only limited to go so many places. Room service is probably one out for some of those guys. Seeing family and those who have children, it's probably the hardest thing. And trying to play. And when you go to these cities now, I guess you just want the game to slow down and stay there forever, because in
Mhm.
fact you know what you're doing after the game, opposed to years ago before the pandemic. But players now, I mean, they're young enough. They got Xbox, they got PlayStation. They probably have a like a side room where they got all the games and things like that to go to.
Wait, when you were playing, they probably didn't even have all the cable channels in the hotel room, right? No, I'm kidding.
Nah, nah. They had some. I'm telling you, we had some. It got better as time went on. I know that.
Um, when you look back on your career, outstanding collegiate career at Carolina, and then of course, with various teams in the NBA, what would you say is one of your most proud moments in your career, whether it be at the college or the pro level?
Well, I take pride in both. I mean, I did love Carolina for those 4 years. I stayed off for, and I had a great time. But that was probably the stepping stone to where everything began for me because we had a coach, Gene Smith, who was great in the way he treated us and respected all his players, and we in turn did the same. But at the same time, he was teaching us values and morals that we would have to take on to the next level, or just in life. So, with all that said, I think we were more prepared for the NBA and how to adjust to other people. Now, you met so many crazy people during that time when you enter the NBA, but at the same time, you adjusted well. And he told us the ins and outs of the NBA and things of that nature. So I think the NBA, I think college really prepared me because now that you have one and done, it's not the same. But the NBA is like it's ruthless when you get in there as a rookie. You don't know what to do, what to expect because of the games, the things that you have to do, be responsible for, be accountable for, getting to the practices and things like that. Yes, I was late a couple of times, slept or something like that. I thought I was in mad trouble. I thought it was equivalent to going to jail or something like that. But when you recognize what you have to do and start learning the ways of the NBA, it'll take a while, but at the same time, it was an adjustment that every player has to do. So I love both. I love both, but I give semblance to the college level for helping me.
Is there any one teammate over the years that you would credit to maybe taking you under their wing or kind of showing you the ropes?
Yeah. There was a guy my rookie year by the name of you may not know him because you're so young. Jay Vincent. He went to Michigan. He went to Michigan State. Excuse me. And he had a brother named Sam Vincent that played. They both played the league. And Jay took me under his wing just to show me the ropes a little bit. This is what to do. And, be on court. If you have a good game, try to put two games together. Great game. So if you scored 20-something points, try to get another 20-something points. But my main thing was that he had took time to on and off the court to show me around Dallas at the time because I came from New York and everybody was talking crazy, like talking funny. Like I didn't understand the Texas drawl at the time. So he showed me where to go and how to handle people and things of that nature because there was so many things going on in Texas at the time. I didn't know what to do. But I credit to Sam, James, and Jay Vincent and Sam Vincent because they were there to just help me out. And then when I got to LA, of course, it was James Worthy and Magic to show me the ways of what to do and try to have a good time in LA.
I was going to say, you're right. I haven't heard of Jay Vincent from Michigan State, but I know of another teammate of yours that went to Michigan State, of course, with that Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, only a handful of people can say that they've played alongside Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. James Worthy's also one of those that can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way that the game has changed a lot. Do you feel like you played in an era of peak basketball?
Yeah, it started changing. I was on the brink of changing because the collective bargaining had changed. It started coming in, and when that happened, you found the more lucrative ways to jump ship and go to another team. So a lot of players weren't fortified with that, but I was one of the guys, me and I believe like Tom Chambers or something at the time. We were one of the first few that had opportunities to do collective bargaining, under that collective bargaining agreement. And that kind of opened things up. And when that happened, there was a floodgate of people going different places. And I had the opportunity to go to LA from Dallas. They didn't sign me back. And with free agency abound, I went to LA. And so with all that said, I think that was the start of everything happening. And then, as you can tell now today, it's off the chain. So I think I'm just a few years ahead of my time. I should have told my mom to wait, push me back in, because I would have had opportunity for even more of an NBA season.
When just going back to Magic and Worthy, because obviously we are in the LA market, and I worked with James a number of times over the years, different media jobs. And everyone knows Magic it's Magic. He's so charismatic, and he's such a
Mm-hmm.
people person. But James is funny as hell. James is funny, dude.
Well, we were roommates in Carolina, so I know how crazy it is. That was just the start. He was a country boy from Gastonia. So, and you put Gastonia boy and a New York boy in the room, you don't know what you're going to come up with. So,
What did you come up with?
no, that room was just so. I'm gonna tell you this. On my side of there's a divider in the room, a dorm room, and he was near the window. Of course, he took the window and I had the other side, and so we had a divider in the room. My side, coming from New York, I didn't have books on my desk. I had DJ equipment, so I had turntables. On his side, he had nothing but clothes piled up or unfolded clothes and things of that nature. So you saw like a New York side of records and turntables and needles, and on the other side, he lived like a country boy, like laundry, shoes all over the place, bed unmade, things of that nature. So every time I played that New York stuff, they weren't having it, and I had to play it through my headphones because I was a DJ in college. So I DJ for like sororities and fraternities and things of that nature. So I was always having equipment. Now, don't ask me how I studied because all my books were probably under my bed and things like that. I don't even know how I got to college, but somehow I got to college. And but I'm telling you, me and him had the greatest time in college because we met prior to that. We met at a Olympic festival. We were on the same team. I met him at the time, and then when I took my visit to Carolina, he was my host. We had a great time then, and I knew after that, and after talking to Coach Smith, I was going to North Carolina.
So can we credit you for giving Worthy street smarts and street cred?
Nah, well, I tell you this, after he got to know me, he still didn't change his ways. He still was a country boy from Carolina. From Carolina. So, and I was still New Yorkish. I couldn't do anything with him with that attitude because he was so inbred. He was just a real nice guy from Gastonia. And but when he got to LA, he got California in him all the way. So when I got met up with him, he was a total
Worthy is like the best. You played in Seattle with GP, of course, another guy I've worked with over the years. I was not covering the NBA when there was a team in Seattle. I was watching the games, growing up, but I didn't get to cover a team there.
Hmm.
Do you think Seattle should have a team again?
Well, I still live there, and every time I go, there's always some type of rah-rah about getting a team back. There's always talk. There's always a murmur from somebody that I know, whether it's from the Nordstroms or Nordstrom family or someone, big time, big wig there that wants the team there. So they bring in soccer there, got football and they got baseball, and they still broke ground. They still have ground and making room reserved for a basketball team. And from what I understand, they all want it. They all want a basketball team there to kind of close out all the sports up there because when Seattle Supersonics were there, the town was like popping. That it was a ticket to have, and Gary Payton, Sean, Detlef, Hershey Hawkins. I don't know if you know these guys,
Mm-hmm.
but these guys were the epitome of Seattle. And when basketball was up there, these fans came out crazy for it. Seattle Arena was rocking. It was a small place, so it was good for basketball. The Storm is there now, but all these things considered, they should have a team there. And there's still talk now about the NBA expanding again, and one of the places they're talking about is Seattle. So I think it would be good for the NBA, but the NBA has to make some adjustments. I always think they want two teams. They don't want, if you expand, you have to have two teams, I believe, to make it equal in playing in parts of the states where they want to play.
You were in the front office with the Pacers for a few years. Is that something you'd ever consider again, getting back into that type of executive role?
Yeah, I would like to, but I mean, I know that time is expiring. So I mean, there's a lot of guys very fortunate to do that. But
What do you
I had
mean
the
time is expiring?
I mean, there's so many guys now wanting to do that. There's guys like, for instance, Chauncey Billups wanted to see how long it took him to get to where he was. There's so many guys now that are capable of doing it. Because I say expiring, I would say is the chances are slim now because of the fact that more guys want to be in that role. I had the opportunity to be with Larry Bird. Great time with him. I shared the same office area with him. He would come in now and then just to check on me. So I was doing player development at the time, and he gave me opportunity. He told me what to do, and I wrote a letter and things of that nature. And before you knew it, I was there. So I had an opportunity to intertwine with players, get to know the business side of it, um, things like that, and it was fun. And now that Seattle is possibility again. It might be something worthwhile to look at again, but at the same time, I know, like I said, chances are slim now because so many guys are vying for the same opportunity. But it's good to have players in some of those positions, to talk to these players only because they went through. They can assess what you went through as a player, and they can get a feel. I don't know if it's real necessary because these guys are on a different level now, but would hope that they would listen and kind of have confirmation from somebody like myself or Robert Horry or Dominique Wilkins to kind of go back and lean on to just make sure that they are on the right path of being consistent and having a long tenure. And
I sent a text to someone to let them know I was interviewing you this morning, and they said one of my one of my absolute favorites. His nickname on the team was Smooth, but I used to call him Ka after the really smooth Jungle Book character. Send my love to him. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I have no idea. From Seattle.
Nope. I'm in LA.
Gary Vitti.
Yes.
It sounds like Vitti. Gary Vitti. Yeah, it sounds like Gary. Yeah, man, Gary was. Oh man, he was funny, man. He was probably most down to earth trainer, aka rapping ankles, aka just the smoothest brother I know. The curliest hair around and the thickest mustache I ever seen. That we had a great time. He really reveled in his position, and he really enjoyed it because he met so many guys through the years.
Where did the nickname Smooth come from?
That came that came from my teammate. I had another funny guy on the team, Byron Scott. And
I heard of him.
You heard of him? I can't believe you heard of him.
He worked
Hidokui is in LA. He's in LA too. He was
another
with
one of my favorites.
And he so long story, try to make it short. I was we have to be at practice at 9:45 on the nose, right in the circle. If you're late 1 minute, you're fined so much money. So I got into the form at the time, and I was running late. I thought I was late, but I saw the time, so I got there like at 9:32 or something like that. And I see people run into the court going the opposite way of me. And I'm going to the locker room to get dressed, to put my jersey on and shorts or whatever. And I get dressed and it's 9:40 something real quick. And so I see them huddling at the in the middle of the court. And all of a sudden Byron Scott is looking my way coming into the forum. If you know the forum, you got to walk in there and get to the court. And he said, "Look at this guy. He's coming in there all smooth, like he ain't late or anything." And by the time I got to the circle, it was 9:45. So he started calling me smooth after that. And then it stuck. But more so when I went to Seattle, there was a guy by the name, maybe a colleague of yours, Kevin Calabro.
Mm-hmm.
He started calling me Big Smooth because I was shooting threes at the time. And every time a three went in, it was smooth. You know, that he called me Big Smooth. And so Seattle just ate it up. And that's where it kind of came from, really. It started with Byron Scott giving me the name, but it took off in Seattle when they started shooting threes.
Now you're New York tough, and I know that brand of tough. B. Scott, LA tough.
Yes. So there's a funny story with me and Byron. So I was playing with the Mavericks at the time. We were in the conference finals, and we had them on the ropes, and we went to 7 games with them. Nobody thought we would go 7 games with them at all because of who they were. We went 7 games, and in one of the games we were in LA, and he went up for a layup, and I hit him so hard that he thought we were going to fight. You know, he wanted to fight. He bounced back up. I'm looking at him, and I swear I didn't flinch. I didn't do anything. I just put my hands on the hips. I'm like, I don't know why he's getting all excited about. So the bench is kind of emptied a little bit. And he looked at me like crazy, like, okay. So James was telling him, like, no, he didn't really mean that in it that way. I just made a hard foul. Because they tell me, you know, at the time, I was kind of my second year, third year. They said, no layups. All right, so no layups. So now 91 comes, and I'm going to get my physical. I hadn't seen Byron since that time. My 91 comes, and I go to LA and get my physical real quick. Guess who's in the office getting their physical? Byron Scott. And it's the first time we met because we're going to be teammates. He just smiled and I smiled. We kind of flashed back to that incident that happened a couple of years ago. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting right there with Byron. We became best of friends right then.
Oh, I love that. That's a great story. So of all your Laker teammates, since we're here in LA, we could do a lot of Lakers coverage, and this is going to be for Lakers feature. Of all of your Lakers teammates, who was the best trash talker?
Best trash talker. Man, there's so many. Then we had one guy. Well, Vlade was, but I couldn't understand what he was talking. So I couldn't tell you, but he was trash talking his language, I guess. But we had one guy that was tough, Terry Teagle, and he was another country boy from Texas, but he didn't play around on that court. If somebody hit him, he's bound to hit them back, you know, in some way or another. Not physically harm him or start a fight or take a fine, but he went after them. And I think Terry Teagle was one of the best guys that was a swing guard, small forward that could talk trash. Another guy that was there, and you might know, Sadell 3. And he talked the whole game. Because once he had a game that was off the chain, he would start talking the whole game. And he was probably one of the fan favorites because of the fact the way he played and talked at the same time and back then.
What about best dressed?
That would go to on the Lakers. Byron came in there with some couple of outfits. Back then we had to have just a jacket and whatever. And so Byron came in. I think Byron was probably one of the guys that kind of came in fresh and dapped up. Magic did too at times, but Magic got there so early that you couldn't even tell what he had on, and he left so late that no one ever saw him. So I would say I would give it to Byron Scott.
What about Prankster?
Byron Scott.
You got a story
Byron,
there?
Byron would always do something crazy to the rookies or somebody. We had a guy by the name of Irv Thomas. He's a scout for them now. And he would always mess with Tony Parker, Eldon Campbell. Eldon was a prankster too, but he would only prank who he can get away with
Right.
it, like some of his rookies and stuff like that. So they would throw, they would they would put somebody's shoe on the highest level to the point where you couldn't find their other shoe and make him late and things of that nature. But we would actually tell him, your shoe is on top of the closet or in Gary Vidi's training room or something like that. But they would do the craziest things at the time. I mean, they didn't mess with me so much, but they knew who to mess with. You know, either Tony Smith or Eldon Campbell. AC Green came in there. You know, he was another dapper. He came in there with the curl. He had the Jerry curl, and then he would have, you know, a nice little suit. So I got to give it to him too. But between him and Byron Scott, they were the dappiest ones there.
Are you still? One last question on that note. The most generous teammate with the Lakers.
The most generous would be Maggio, because he gave a lot of time to us. He made time for us, and at the same time, he did a lot of things off the court with charity and the community service. Lakers at the time, and they still are. They were very conscious of Inglewood and making sure Inglewood was a commodity for them, making sure that people in the neighborhood were cared for, looked for, because there was a lot of poverty there, but not so much poverty, but people that needed assistance. Let's say that.